Thanks for having me on the Next Level call. My name is Matt Smith. I'm here in Coeur d'Alene out of our corporate office for Family First Life Northwest. And the first thing I want you to do, since we're live on Facebook, is I need you to go ahead and smash the like buttons, and I need you to go ahead and share this with everybody that you have on Facebook. Because the reason why our businesses are so small is we're not sharing it with enough people. So let's get the word out and share this all over Facebook to start with. I'm going to break down three different sections on today's call. The first thing I'm going to go over is some simple success tips that you can take as a self-employed entrepreneur in the life insurance industry. I think there's some key things that you can do, and it all starts with your mind. I'll phase into phone tips, some specific phone tips that are very important, and then I'll give you some in-home tips at the very end of our show here, and we'll get you some good bullets that you can apply and adapt and take action in the field. One of the first success tips that I would give you is you really need to change your belief. And let me give you an idea of what I mean. So most people run at a certain temperature in their life. So let's say if you've been someone that runs at 80 degrees your whole life, when you get down to a level of bad things happen and you're running at a 65-degree temperature, you'll do everything it takes to get back up to 80 degrees because that is where your comfort level is. Now, the exact reverse happens when you start to do very well for the majority of us. So what happens is when successful people, when they start to succeed and they're running more at a 90 or 100% temperature, what happens is they're able to build like a new water line, or they ratchet up and they forget that they were at a comfort level of 80. But for many of us in a new role where you're relying on yourself, maybe a few agents as well, but you're literally not able to adapt quick enough, and you'll do everything, your brain will do everything to stay comfortable. So you want to run at 80, if you're running at bad things, you'll do everything, you'll work hard, you get to an 80, then you'll stop. And I can tell you this has happened to me in my business several different times where I'll level up to a certain degree and then I'll have trouble finding that next gear. So what I would say is I would challenge you and make sure that you are doing everything you can. Like just when you started in the business, are you working the same work ethic, the same hours, the same commitment level as you were when you first got in the business? Because a lot of us that have been in the business for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we get to a certain level and we stop and we level off and we never ratchet up and set new goals and a new waterline. So what you need to do is make sure that you're challenging yourself. One of the ways that you can challenge yourself too is making sure that you're around the right mentor that is pushing you, giving you new ideas. I know Sean Mike does a tremendous job with the entire Family First Life on where we're always chasing a carrot. And by the way, that's not a bad thing. You always want to have something else to go for. So I remember like 2015, where Sean Ruggiero and I have this agency together. And I think it was the first month where we hit 200,000 of like gross income in our month in like January of 2015. And I found myself content at that point. And that's a dangerous area to be, and I'm going to touch on that here in a second as one of my success tips as well. But you want to make sure you chase discomfort. So what happens is, generally speaking, the majority of us come from middle class. That is really almost the hardest class to come out and be successful for. So follow me here. If you were poor, you have ideas and things that you see that you don't want. So you'll do whatever it takes to not be poor. That's one of the advantages for some people that succeed in business if they're raised in a poor environment. When you're rich, the advantage would be you see success, it leaves clues, you're able to have resources behind you, and you're able to capture success that way as well. But the middle is where most of us are. I was raised middle class. Parents were school teachers, for example. Did a fantastic job raising me, etc. But wasn't so much about dreams as an entrepreneur. There wasn't any success tips there in regards to business, for example. So if you understand that you need to chase discomfort, these two really go hand in hand. So make sure you're changing your belief, your mindset. Make sure you ratchet up. So there's the ratcheting theory that where you can go up about 130% at a time, and then you kind of regroup. And the faster you move through that, the better you'll be. Don't sell your will to win. I think what most people do is we stop at a destination. For me personally, 2015, January, first time a couple $100,000 hit our bank account. I'm not going to say I stopped, but I certainly got more comfortable. And the problem with that is you can't be someone that gets a house, the house that your dream house or your dream car, and all of a sudden you got bought. Or maybe you sold a business and you got bought and you stopped. So if you have the willingness to not sell your will to win in business, I think you're going to propel to another level as well. So think about that as well. Like, don't be someone, the real people that make real money and have real success, they don't give up at a certain destination. It doesn't matter how big the house is, how big the cars are, there's always another reason why they're doing and succeeding in business. So the next one would be master the art of persuasion. So a lot of times we get on these calls, right? And you're like, man, give me the word tracks, which we'll get into. We'll get into some of those too on this call. Give me these word tracks. Give me the magic things. What do you say to get someone to talk to about annuity or an index universal life policy? What do you say? And I'm telling you right now, it's not what I say as much as how I believe in what I do. And I think for a lot of you, the vast majority of you, the top producers in our company, I guarantee when they sit down with a client, they can tell that they have high confidence. The energy that the client feels is at an all-time high. So it transfers. Brian Tracy always talks about 50% of a sale is the transfer of enthusiasm. Well, if you don't sit down with a client and transfer that confidence, that is more compelling than you talking about other things. So if you're lukewarm when you present and you don't know why, it's because of that. The other thing I would tell you as well is think about this. Think about your emotional intelligence overall. This is how people work. 95% of decisions are based off of emotions. Now, generally speaking, the less emotion you take out of a decision, the better decisions you'll make, by the way. But I'm talking about our clientele, 95% of the time, they are making a buying decision based off the emotion they feel. So if you're flat and you're not challenging them and you're not confident, they're not going to want to do business with you. That's really the true art of persuasion. Like, I remember 2.5, 3 years ago, I was considering getting neck surgery because I needed it. I went and saw a physician, a specialist, and he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into your neck. We're going to go in the front because that's what Peyton Manning did. We're going to do this, and this. He was 100% certain, had the right energy. I trust him 100%. What if he said, well, I kind of think we should do this, or maybe we should do that. Like, we should maybe go through your neck and put you under, and you might have some complications, but it could work out. I think some of you are probably presenting in the house to that degree. So when you think of all these fancy words of persuasion and all that stuff, it's all just belief. So what is your belief level when you come in? That's a great success tip as well. Rely on your habits. So there are plenty of days where I don't feel like it. I don't feel like running a business, because we have choices. I don't feel like going to the office. I don't feel like talking to agents. There are plenty of days, just to be clear. The difference for successful producers is they rely on their habits. That when you take out I don't feel like it in your schedule, that's where you become great. And what you'll find is how can you control this? Well, you can control it by what's the first 30 minutes look like every single morning? Do you wake up every single morning at the same time? Do you have the right rituals and habits that you've developed over time where it doesn't really give you a choice? I mean, the great thing about our business is once we've made dials and there are appointments in our Google Calendar or whatever, and it comes up on the phone, once I see I've got 8 appointments that day, it doesn't matter how I feel. I'm going to go run those 8 appointments, right? So that's the great thing about having habits and making sure your schedule dictates what you're going to do. So I always make sure that I have those rocks in your schedule where they cannot move. I'm going to be on the Monday morning wake up calls. I'm going to get on agency calls. I'm going to get on the next level call as far as the business development call. I'm going to be as much involved as I can in this business because I want to immerse myself to make sure that I'm getting better, because if you're trying to do it by yourself, it's certainly lonely, and I think you'll find very mixed results. So I would just say create the right rituals, create the right habits where you're going to take your business to the next level, and maybe look at your last 30 minutes of the day. Are you maybe reading, maybe self-improvement? What do you do in the last 30 minutes? Because you can control usually the first 30 and the last 30, certainly. But sometimes during the day, other than maybe a rock schedule, things move around sometimes. Make sure that you control it through your habits is what I would say. The last thing I can tell you is your ability in business to get up fast is the difference between winning and losing. So everybody makes mistakes. Everybody goes through ups and downs. What you'll find, though, is it's not you hitting the ground that matters. It's how quickly you get up from the ground and how fast you move and how quickly you adapt to things. The problem is you're not putting any action behind what's going on in your business. You're not trying and getting feedback all the time because you're stuck in that same maybe rut that you've been used to and you're wondering why it's not working, right? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So where I would challenge you in regards to getting up fast is putting the action behind it. Action-oriented. And you know what action does? It solves all your fear. People don't move without action. And the worst thing is when new agents in this business, they want to, proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Well, they want to spend all their time with preparing and none of the time with action. You've got to do both at the same time. So those are some of my success tips. I'm going to go ahead and move into phone tips next. For your phone tips, what I can tell you is I've been dialing every week for 10 years straight. And where I've gathered this recent data is inside of our group at Family First Life Northwest. As we bring on new agents, we put a lot of them on Ustream. Now we have YouTube training, we role play, we script play, we have all the objections to overcome, etc. But once you really see someone dialing, there's a lot of course corrections that I can give you that would help you along the way. Because you need to realize that 80% of this business is the phone. And 15% is your in-home and 5% is product knowledge. The problem is for most of you is you start out and spend 80% of your time trying to learn our simple products. And I don't mean simple like they're not great. What I mean is they're very easy to understand. They're easy for the consumer to understand. And there you have it. So you need to learn how to get great on the phone. Number one biggest problem I've actually changed recently that I think it's the biggest reason why agents fail. It's either a lack of money, so they can't invest in leads, right? Or a lack of phone skills. Because again, you do not have a people problem. You don't have a money problem, you have a people problem, excuse me. So what I would say is, how do we get over our money problems? Well, by you running 25 appointments a week, running 8 appointments a day, 3 days a week, etc. That's how you overcome your money problem. And what if we can get you that much better on the phone where you see 4 extra people a week that you generally wouldn't see? That is what I'm talking about. The other scenario that I'd give you, we have plenty of great examples at Family First Life. You can make sure you ask your manager their thought process, because if you're doing a real, if you're doing a phenomenal job on the phone, I would give you 2 pieces of advice. I would say, don't change anything. However, if there's a couple scenarios that you pick up off of this, pay attention to that and maybe implement it and get some feedback. Because this is me watching people dial, taking notes, seeing what they're struggling with, and then giving some course corrections. So all I'm trying to do is give you the roadmap, because success leaves clues, and this is what we'll do. So the first thing is very basic, and that is call people by their first name. You would think this would be an easy one for most people, but a lot of times agents will get on the phone and they'll say, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, not a good idea. You sound like a telemarketer. Make sure you call people by their first name. Second thing is make sure you ask for the person that filled out the form. Generally, on our leads, they either will have a woman's handwriting or a man to start with, whether it's direct mail, final expense, or mortgage. Make sure you ask for the person that fills out the form. That's very important because you don't want to talk to the person, because a lot of times, probably half the time, the person might fill out a form, but they don't talk to their spouse about it because they want to get some initial information from you in order to get this. So you're confusing people when you start to talk to them about a form they're not aware of that their spouse or partner sent in. Don't say Mortgage Protection Center, and don't say life insurance when you're calling a mortgage protection lead. Here's why I say that. Everyone in this industry has been trained to say, I'm calling you with the Mortgage Protection Center. Well, first of all, you're not the Mortgage Protection Center. So that's the first reason I don't like it. The second thing is, no, you're calling them in regards to a form that they signed and sent in requesting information to pay off their mortgage if they were to die. Now, I have you as a 61-year-old non-smoker. Is that correct? Yes, and that's the first time I let you talk. Now, what happens when people say Mortgage Protection Center, you'll get, some of the time, who are you with? And then you start explaining. And when you explain, you lose. When your script is long, you lose. When you lose control on the phone, you won't be in the house. Not a big fan of Mortgage Protection Center. Everybody uses it. I'm just giving you my personal thought process, and I've seen people battle going back and forth of, well, who are you, with the bank? Are you not with the bank? Are you or calling a Facebook final expense, or all these different things? It's like, don't say life insurance either when you're dealing with a mortgage lead. They didn't fill it out for necessarily life insurance. They filled it out to pay off their loan if they were to die, which is different from traditional life insurance, right? We'll explain that here in a little bit. I'm not a big fan. Again, I'm going to give you different points of view. A lot of my agents have success doing this. I know a lot of agents that do. People say, do you remember filling out the form? I've seen more people lose people on the call by saying, no, I don't. And then they hang up, or they lose control again. I prefer to be in so much control that I say, hey, this is regards to the state-regulated life insurance designed to pay off your funeral expenses when you're no longer here. I have your spouse is 73 and you're 71 and your address is this. Is that correct? I don't care if they remember or don't remember filling out the form, because the information I have on the form is going to tell me that they filled out the form. Does that make sense? I know you can go either way, and there's a lot of professionals that have no problems with this. Don't change. I'm talking about the agents that are suffering on the phone. There's a lot of them, guys. There's a lot of them. I promise you that these are things that you get hung up on and you lose control, and I've just seen it time and time again. It's not one person, it's dozens of people that lose this battle because you're battling whether they filled out a form or not. I'm not interested in filling out a form. I'm interested in verifying the information that they filled out on the form and moving through the script, getting off the phone as soon as possible, and tying down the appointment as best you can. Make sure that you use *67 and dial the same number 4 times in a row. If I get a phone call 4 times in a row, generally I'm going to pick it up. *67 blocks your number. A lot of times I'll dial 4 times in a row and then do *67, which would block my number, and then they're curious and they want to pick up. Everything works a little. So I just want to make sure that you're using that. That's important as well. You're doing too much explaining over the phone. So a lot of times I'll see agents saying all kinds of different crazy stuff. Hey, so what we're going to do is, we're going to go over options that are designed to fit your budget needs and find you the price that you want and can't afford, and it will take and you're like selling over the phone, which does you no good. This is not a business that we sell over the phone. This is the business where we get in the home, takes 10 to 15 minutes to get you the information. I'm dispatched out in your area on Tuesday. I'll see you between 6:30 and 7. This is crucial too. See this mistake a lot. I've course corrected many agents on this one. You try to set an appointment and say, on Tuesday I've got a 6, or on Wednesday I've got a 7. I don't like that personally. I would tell you that you need to say, John and Mary, what time are you both home on Tuesday? Because that's the day I want to set the appointment. I'm not giving a Tuesday, Wednesday, because I can course correct after this, but listen to me carefully. I say, John and Mary, what time are you both home on Tuesday? Well, we both get home around 7. Great, they have me dispatched out in your area on Tuesday. I do not have a ton of time. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to get you this information. I can see you between about 7:30 and 8 on Tuesday. Does that sound fair? Yes, great. Can you grab a pen, John? Yeah. My name is Matt Smith. This is in regards to paying off your home if you were to die. I need you to make sure you're both there. Is there any reason why you both won't be there on Tuesday? No, we should be there. Can you please put this in your phone so you don't forget? I don't want to waste my time and come out, and I don't want to waste your time. I know this was important to you. Okay, what color's your house? Do you have cars parked out front? Tie down, tie down, tie down. Make sure you're tying it down. Make sure you're tying it down tight within 48 hours of when you call them, because the longer the time frame, the harder it is to set. A bonus scenario would be set an appointment out 2 weeks, because it might be the only appointment, the only chance you have to talk to them. So a lot of people will say, I'm gone, I'm out of town. Great, I'll call you back. I'm going to set the appointment 2 weeks out. Yes, I'll probably call them as a reminder, but you get one shot to be on the phone with them. Set an appointment 2 weeks out. Call them to follow up and set it up. But at least you have something moving towards that appointment, where calling back, they just won't pick up. They'll dodge the number. They'll find a reason not to do business with you. I think that's crucial as well. Quick set versus quality set appointments. These are going to get you 3 or 4 appointments a week. A lot of times I see agents fail and they'll say, hey, can you give me a call back? I'm in the grocery store. It's like, I'm in the car, call me back. They picked up the phone, first of all, so listen to me clearly. I'm going to say, perfect, absolutely, that's the purpose of my phone call. What time do you generally get home on Wednesday? And they'll say, 6 o'clock. Great. This is in regards to that state-regulated life insurance you requested on Facebook. My job is to get you this information. I'm going to be out in your area, and I don't have a ton of time between about 6:30 and 7. It takes about 15 minutes to do so. So can we see each other on Wednesday between about 6:30 and 7 in regards to that state-regulated life insurance designed to pay all your burial costs? Okay, great. I'll see you then. Instead of saying, I'll call you back. So quick set versus quality. Sometimes you got to go with a quick set, and sometimes you got to go with a quality set. The main thing is if somebody's trying to get off the phone with you, they either think you're a telemarketer, they maybe really don't have time. I don't care on either subject. I just need to make sure that you're prepared to move in that direction. This is a huge one. Leave voicemails. A lot of us have been taught not to leave voicemails. People don't answer their phone. I told an agent, this just 2 weeks ago, I told an agent, please leave voicemails. He says, I've been in this business forever. I was taught to never leave voicemails, he said. I said, no problem, leave voicemails. How's dials going? Not very good, I'm not getting a whole lot of people. Okay, you're gonna door knock? Well, yeah, I can door knock. How about just starting with leaving voicemails? Leave voicemails. Now, here's the key thing about, people get caught up in what do you say and how do you say it, and just leave voicemails. This is in regards to that information you requested for the mail that you sent to my office. It's in regards to paying off a mortgage. If you were to die, my phone number is this, this, and this. Give me a call back. Be very direct. Be concise. Tell them what it's for. Call them back. You can be mysterious if you want. I'm more direct. I don't care. I'm processing leads. I'm getting through things. So I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell them why I'm calling. Long story short, the agent calls me back after he makes one dial session. No lie. He goes, Matt, I just set 6 extra appointments, leaving voicemails. I've never done that ever. He goes, I'm going to leave voicemails from this point forward. And generally speaking, you get 3, 4 people calling you back. Here's the key to this, though. Do not pick up the phone unless you don't have the lead in front of you, because you will not set the appointment if you're not prepared to talk about the things that they filled out on the lead. That's extremely important as well. The last thing is, a lot of times you guys are asking for permission to come out. No, that's not how we do it. Is it okay if I come out on Tuesday? No. I'm out in your area. I don't have a ton of time. Take the busy excuse. If you say it first, you win. I don't have a ton of time. I'm going to be out in your area between about 6:30 and 7 to get you that information. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes. Does that sound fair? Yes. Don't ask for permission. You're the physician filling the time slots. So those are some of those phone tips that I would look at. If you're great on the phone, don't change a darn thing. But I would say, I would challenge yourself, because even good people on the phone can get better. I can get better. You can get better. I promise. I'm going to move into the in-home tips and we'll wrap this up. So in the home, there's several different important factors that are going to play a part to gaining clients and business. The first thing I would tell you is you need to increase your closing percentage. How do we do that? Number one is we need to make sure to understand what the golden rule of friendship. One of the best things I can tell you is people only buy from you if they like you. I remember back in the auto industry days when I used to do F&I, all these real good finance guys would have all these different closing techniques and strategies, and probably were better at those than I were. But what I had over them is I felt like I had people that would like me more, so I actually closed better than them. So the golden rule of friendship is always leave people better off than when you met them, so they should like you in order to do business. Simple business practices here. The second thing is, and I think it's a secret weapon, is inject humor. You know, Sean Mike always talks about that self-deprecating humor. It's very effective. Clients laugh. When they laugh, they relax, and it's easy for them to make a buying decision. You have to combine that with that certainty and that belief level and that injection of enthusiasm that we spoke about earlier. So make sure you have a good combination of both. Obviously, you want to stick with being in business and being very professional, so not being a goofball. But it's good to have some laughs with your clients to reduce stress, to increase your percentage chance of you closing that business. The second thing is you need to understand how to set the stage. We talk about this on almost every call, but you need to say, this is what I do. I set the stage for time, so I have their intention, so they're more likely to answer the questions that I need off of the financial inventory. So I say, you know, John and Mary, I'm going to ask you about 3 minutes of financial questions, about 2 minutes on your personal health. Based off of that, it's going to take me about 10 minutes to explain the 3 different options that we have in regards to fully underwritten life insurance, simplified issue, non-medical life insurance, and mortgage protections, how the banks used to offer that, but now it's more of an accidental death policy. So I'm going to talk to you about those things. I'm also going to explain the difference between what fully underwritten is and simplified issue to make sure that price is not on the table for most of our clients. So for the clients that are filling out these non-medical forms where generally they do not want a physical and maybe they have a higher build, taking some medications so they are not in perfect health, which is the vast majority, we want to stick with simplified issue products because we're able to get the business placed quickly. So it takes that buying decision out, takes the remorse out, takes getting coverage in place is more important at an affordable rate than you trying to find the exact best policy and best price ever, because generally that doesn't happen. And what happens if you do a fully underwritten policy is they put them on a scale, draw their blood and urine, dig into their medical records, dig into their family history, and we quote a price, and then it comes up 3 or 4 times higher, and you lose out on that business. Where you could have explained that simplified issue non-medical life insurance is, we still ask you the health questions, you still qualify for any death, but the price will be the price. So it's much easier to find something that affordable, meets their needs, that will come in at the rates that you actually quoted, and it's much more effective because you don't lose buyers. So stick with simplified issue non-medical life insurance because that's what they're requesting and that's the bread and butter. That's how we protect clients quickly and how you get paid quickly as well. Financial inventory. So financial inventory is probably one of the main aspects that you can to really uncovering premium and other opportunities inside of the quintessence of the business that we do. I think without that good structure, you will fail. I would actually challenge you, roughly a month or so ago on the Next Level call, Sean Ruggiero broke down the financial inventory. I would look up that video and become a student of the game and get better. I would look at the financial inventory sheet that you use, match it up with what Sean was saying, talk to your manager about it real quick, and I believe that someone that does a good structured financial inventory, and I think you only need 3 minutes because it's rapid fire questions. I'm getting that information quickly. I'm through the, all the golden rule of friendship and being friends and ask them where they met on their first date and, trying to find common ground and all that. I am in business when we're into financial inventory and they're answering my questions quickly. I don't have any clients when I ask people, do you have anything else that acts like life insurance? I don't have any clients that say, why do you need to know that? Because you know why? I already told them, I set the precedent up front, set the right expectations, this is how the process works. So pretty straightforward as well. You can talk about current coverages. You can find current coverages inside of financial inventory. So a lot of the time, with financial inventory, someone will currently own some life insurance. Your job is to get that out, because if they're spending $150 a month on a term policy that expires in 8 years, generally we can go apples versus oranges. So if someone has term, I'm going to say things, this is true. According to LIMRA, Life Insurance Marketing Resource Association, 2% of term pays out. So at this stage, you need to throw your flag in the ground. You need to make sure you have something permanent that lasts as long as you do. Would you agree? I trial close as well. Would you agree? Yes, okay. So your parents lived well past age 80. You're 58 right now. Your term runs out at 80. You just took out a 30-year mortgage. It doesn't make sense for you to have in 8 years left worth of term. Would you agree with that? Yes. See how we start to go apples versus oranges? Much easier to replace that business in a legitimate fashion as well. Fill out all your replacement forms on the app, etc. But much more legitimate way for people to get the coverage that they truly deserve and need because they have these longer mortgages that may be filled out, etc. That's very important. It could be important even on a final expense policy. So a lot of times we'll meet someone that fills out a Facebook lead or direct mail. We're sitting down with them and they've got their final expense policy that could go up every 5 years or end at age 80. So if we don't get out current coverage, it's very difficult to close business. Call the carrier if they don't have the policy with them. Challenge them. A lot of times, and I got to be careful here because I don't want you to make it a habit, but a lot of times it's important. If they don't know exactly what they have, you need to make sure, because that's probably a lot of the premium they have designated towards insurance purposes. So if you don't make your case to replace it, it's going to be very difficult. Sometimes we can't help people because they have a bulletproof policy, and that's great. I'm glad they took it out a long time ago. It's called processing leads. The next thing I would say is a lot of times is don't offer so many options. Stick to one product. You could do 3 price points if you'd like, and usually people will pick in the middle. You could do 2 price points. I personally do top-down selling, and I do 1 price point because I take a good financial inventory based off of that, whether they have some credit card debt, maybe they just refinance their house and they're strapped and they say, gosh, we only saved $100. It was a really big deal. Well, you're probably going to have to find something very affordable for them. So that's important as far as how you do it. I would tell you this is an area that I would try and get some feedback with. Try 1 price, unless you're just a top salesperson. Try 1 price. Try 3 prices. Try 2 prices. Stick to 1 product though, because what you do when you get multiple products is confuse people do nothing. So make sure that you're able to do that. Make sure a lot of new clients, they will do a poor job with unhealthy clients. So there's a lot of information on our YouTube channel and our training inside the CRM about how to help these unhealthy clients. I would recommend going to those videos and watching those, because those are the areas where we're selling some final expense insurance to someone that's 71 that just had stents put in their heart, but their mortgage is $300,000. So maybe they're getting $30,000 worth of coverage and they want the whole mortgage covered. But what we've done is we're talking about a final expense policy. So you need to know how to close that business. Go to our training videos and watch that, because that's more of like a 8-minute video or so. And lastly, as you could see, trial close, step sale. Trial closing allows you to use words like, can you see how that makes sense? Does that make sense? All these different areas. So you're step selling along the way, so they're agreeing with you along the way, and you're closing gaps closer to get that business where you can say, I just need your driver's license. And then they give you the driver's license and you can get into the application right off the bat. The last thing I would say is the best salespeople in the world are basically ones that are challenging your clients. So make sure you don't fold like a taco and you're challenging your clients. And that is all my time. I'm going to pass it to Sean Ruggiero because he's got some IUL and annuity tips. Make sure you stay on and watch this stuff, because this is how you make 6 figures in those quintins, both quintins. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure you stay on this live feed, and we'll pass it to Sean. Thank you very much for your time.